When did you discover your partner was spending your rent money on an Apple Watch for someone else? Oh my god, okay, I don't even know where to start honestly. I'm sitting in my beat-up 2018 Honda Civic parked in the lot of the community center where the PTA meeting just happened, and I feel like I just watched a train wreck except I was standing directly on the tracks. I need to get this out before I combust. TBH, I'm shaking so hard my iPhone 14 cracked screen is vibrating. The short version, the really short version, is that I Billy Morgan 49M, and yes, I'm still figuring out the identity stuff, but that's a whole other thread for another time, was supposed to marry my partner Nathan next month. And then tonight, during the annual PTA budget review, I found out why the $1,247 for our next month's rent was suddenly gone, and it wasn't because of a rogue Zelle transaction. It was because he's been conducting a full-blown emotional affair for 8 months, and the money went toward a down payment on a stupidly expensive Apple Watch for her. I wanted to key a stupid BMW he can't afford, which is currently parked 2 spaces over, but I controlled myself. Barely. Let me rewind because the sheer mind-numbing audacity of this betrayal needs context. Nathan and I have been together for 2 years, 8 months. We met right before the pandemic really kicked off, and honestly, he was my person. We lived in apartment 3B, a decent place near the elementary school because my kid, technically from a previous thing, is in 4th grade. Things have been tight lately. I work in logistics and my PTO hours are nearly depleted. Nathan claims to work in freelance graphic design, but mostly he just plays Elden Ring and waits for me to send money via Cash App when he needs gas. I make the $43.67 Trader Joe's run every Tuesday. I pay the $85 plumber charge when the toilet backs up, which is often because Nathan refuses to stop flushing paper towels, and I manage the $1,247 rent. About 3 weeks ago, I started noticing things. Just small stuff, you know. He used to check his notifications religiously, had the volume on loud, but suddenly the iPhone was always face down. He got weirdly defensive when I asked about the last $200 withdrawal from the shared account. He claimed it was for a client meeting lunch, which fine, except his client meetings are usually at Panera Bread, which costs $17 tops, not $200. I asked him, dude, are you treating them to Olive Garden and the unlimited breadsticks fountain? He just glared at me. Then the communication started failing. Our wedding planning was supposed to be easy. We planned a small thing, but every time I brought up the venue deposit or asked him to confirm the caterer, which I found obviously, he would suddenly need to check his email or run a very specific errand. Tuesday at 11:47 a.m. I got an alert from our bank. The next month's rent, $1,247, was transferred out, not to the landlord, to an external Venmo account named Lovertops87. My heart stopped. Literally. I was on the 5th floor of my office building, staring at my computer screen, which was filled with an urgent email about inventory, but all I could see was LOVERATOPS 87. I felt my stomach drop. I swear I nearly threw up right there in my cubicle. I excused myself for a sudden onset migraine, which wasn't entirely a lie. My head felt like it was splitting, and I spent 45 minutes ugly crying in the women's restroom. Mascara everywhere. I wanted to call him 27 times in 1 hour, but I didn't. I texted him instead. I sent the Venmo screenshot and just typed, "Explain now," no response. Read receipt on. I checked our Ring doorbell footage when I got home that evening, nothing suspicious. He was on the couch watching Netflix, exactly where he always is. He looked up, totally calm, and said, "Hey babe, long day?" I felt the rage rising. I saw red. "Where is the rent money, Nathan?" I asked, my voice shaking so badly it sounded like a dying robot. He didn't even flinch. "What are you talking about, Billy? It's fine, I paid it." "No," I said, holding up my phone. Lovertops87, $1,247. "Who is that?" He looked me dead in the eyes. I swear the casualness of his denial was worse than the act itself. He said, "Oh, that was just a friend. She was short on her deposit for a temporary thing. She already paid it back." "No, she didn't," I said, checking the bank app. "And that's the rent money, and why is your friend named Lovertops?" That's when the gaslighting started. "You're being dramatic. You're remembering it wrong. Why are you always so paranoid?" "I never said that." He actually tried to turn it around on my gender identity questioning, saying, "Maybe if you weren't so internally preoccupied, you'd trust me." The sheer disrespect. I wanted to scream, but the kid was doing homework in the kitchen. I was done, just done. I told him he needed to be out of apartment 3B by Friday and that I would be calling the landlord and changing the lease to my name only. He laughed. "And where are you going to get the security deposit back, huh? It's in both our names, Billy. You can't afford this place alone." Practical panic setting in right alongside the absolute devastation. I was sobbing, but also worried about the 60-day notice. I didn't have the emotional energy for a full confrontation. I just grabbed the Talenti gelato and my laptop and locked myself in the spare bedroom. Fast forward 2 days later, and we are at the elementary school for the PTA meeting. Why? Because the budget proposal has a mandatory attendance clause if you want access to the emergency funds for the school garden renovation, which I stupidly volunteered to oversee. Nathan was there, of course. We were pretending to be a normal couple in the middle of a massive emotional earthquake. He kept texting me from across the aisle, "Can we TLAC? You're overreacting. I am serious. Stop this." I left him on read. This PTA meeting is where all the chaos usually happens. BTW. We have our standard crew. First, there's Emily Lopez, 29F. She's the kind of person who wears AirPods the entire time the principal is speaking and posts incessantly on her Instagram story about the truth. Tonight, she was aggressively campaigning against the new mandatory flu shots. She kept leaning over, whispering loudly, "They're putting microchips in the kids. I'm serious. You have to listen to the TikTok expert, not the CDC." She kept eyeing the bottled water like it was laced with tracking devices. She was wearing this bright yellow Peloton jacket, which was confusing because she claims she only walks barefoot to absorb earth energy. Then there's Jerry Ross, 37M. Jerry is the martyr figure. He's always exhausted, always running 3 fundraisers at once, always telling everyone how he only slept 2 hours because he was sewing costumes for the school play, and his wife left him 3 years ago so he has to do everything himself. He was pale tonight, clutching a lukewarm Starbucks cup like a life raft, talking about how he had already used up all his sick days to drive the soccer team to a tournament. He looked like he was about to pass out, but he'd still refuse help. Jerry is honestly sweet but exhausting. He always has a way of making you feel like your problems aren't bad enough because you don't have to manage 5 different extracurriculars while homeschooling a gifted child. And Chloe Chen, 59F. Chloe is the absent parent, though she used to be quite involved years ago. Her kid is now in middle school, but she still shows up to the elementary meetings, I think just to feel useful. She's always quiet, usually sits in the back checking her Samsung Galaxy, which probably has 47 notifications waiting. She looks tired, maybe slightly regretful, but she never talks about her personal life. She wore a sensible gray cardigan and had her hair pulled back tightly. I almost never talk to her, she just exists as background noise. Finally, Nancy Kelly, 24F. Nancy is the attention seeker. She's the youngest, fresh out of whatever corporate job she quit to focus on herself, and she treats the PTA like a networking event. She tries way too hard, always has on too much makeup, and she interrupted the treasurer 3 times tonight to ask if we could move the bake sale to the same weekend as the high school football game for maximum synergy. She kept glancing over at me and Nathan, obviously sensing the tension, probably hoping for drama she could tweet about. We were deep into a boring discussion about the cost of new playground mulch when it happened. The treasurer, a lovely man named David, was going over the line items. He got to unforeseen expenses, $347. This $347, David announced, tapping his projector screen, was a bit unusual. It was a charge made to the PTA credit card for a specific purchase, but it was reversed a week later after the item was apparently returned. I have the receipt here for documentation. He clicked the next slide, and there it was, a detailed list. The $347 transaction was made at the Apple Store. Item purchased, Apple Watch Series 9 Midnight Finish with the specific engraving LOVRATOPS. I gasped. A small, ragged noise that cut through the room. Jerry Ross, the martyr, instantly jumped up, already performing. "Oh, David, I'm so sorry, that was me. I was trying to order a bulk subscription for our volunteer shift scheduling app and I must have fat-fingered the wrong card number. It was completely accidental. I spent an hour on the phone with customer service to reverse it. They were so rude, I haven't slept. Please forgive me." He was visibly shaking, clearly loving the dramatic spotlight. I didn't even look at Jerry. I looked straight across the aisle at Nathan. His face was the color of unbleached flour. "It's not Jerry," I whispered, but it was loud enough to stop the budget discussion dead. Emily Lopez, 29F, instantly ripped out her AirPods. "Wait, what's happening? What did you say, Billy?" I stood up. I was literally shaking again, full body tremor. "Nathan," I said, pointing at the screen. "Lovertops, that's who you sent the rent money to." Nathan scrambled to his feet. "Billy, stop. This is inappropriate. We're in a public forum. You're being dramatic." Classic gaslighting. The audacity, the absolute audacity of you to use the PTA's credit card, which you have access to because you're supposed to be helping David with digital asset management, to buy an Apple Watch for your emotional affair partner, Lovertops 87. Nancy Kelly, 24F, literally pulled out her phone and started recording, her eyes wide with glee. "Oh my God, I knew it. This is gold." Jerry Ross, briefly forgotten in his martyrdom, looked genuinely confused. "Wait, an emotional affair, Nathan?" Nathan tried to grab my arm. "Billy, we'll talk at home." "There is no home, Nathan," I shouted. I felt tears streaming, but this time they were pure fire, not sadness. "You took the rent money, you lied about the $200 withdrawals for client lunches that were actually for Chipotle for her, and now the PTA credit card for a stupid watch with a stupid engraving. We were supposed to get married next month." Suddenly, Chloe Chen, 59F, the absent parent who never speaks, slammed her hand down on the table. It was a loud, startling crack. "The Apple Watch," she said, her voice low and completely steady. Everyone turned to her. Nathan froze mid-lunge towards me. Chloe looked directly at Nathan, then slowly pulled up the sleeve of her sensible gray cardigan. On her wrist, she was wearing a brand new Midnight Finish Apple Watch Series 9. She didn't look angry, she just looked resigned. "I received this last Thursday," Chloe Chen, 59F, continued, her eyes still locked on Nathan. "It was a gift. He said it was a thank you for letting him vent about his unhappy life. He told me he was going to break up with you and that he'd been struggling with his identity too, and I was the only person who understood him." And then she added the kicker, the detail that made my entire world shatter and finally truly click into place. "And he said he only returned the watch because the engraving was wrong. It was supposed to be LOVRATOPS2 because that's my Netflix password." Oh my God. Okay, I'm still sitting in the Civic like I said, but now the initial shock has worn off and I just feel this cold, hard, sickening dread. The kind where your hands feel too heavy to type, but you have to type anyway or y'all dissolve. I have to process that Chloe Chen, the quietest, most sensible cardigan-wearing woman in the entire PTA, the one who barely made eye contact, the one who was supposed to be regretful background noise, is LOVRATOPS2. Lovertops 2. Like Nathan couldn't even manage to make her the first Lovertops, he had to give her a sequel number. That is such a Nathan move, honestly. He's always half-assing everything. The The silence after Chloe dropped that bomb was absolutely toxic. It was the kind of silence that feels heavy enough to suffocate you. Even Emily, the anti-vaxxer, was frozen, jaw dropped, momentarily forgetting about the dangers of tap water. Nancy, the attention seeker, was still recording, but her phone was shaking because she was so excited. Nathan just stood there looking at Chloe, then at the Apple Watch on her wrist, and then back at me. His face wasn't even angry anymore. It was just pure, pathetic, busted guilt. "Chloe, why would you do that?" he managed, his voice a squeak. Chloe didn't even raise her voice. She looked at him with this deep, devastating pity that was somehow worse than screaming. "Because you made me feel useful again, Nathan, and I thought it was real. But then you used the PTA credit card for a gift you gave me and returned it because the engraving was wrong." She shook her head. "You treat everything, even your infidelity, like a line item you can return for store credit." I swear the way she phrased that, the sheer clinical accuracy of calling him a liar who handles betrayal like a bad Amazon return, it was the most crushing thing I heard all night. Jerry Ross, the martyr, bless his exhausted heart, finally found his voice. He was still holding the lukewarm Starbucks. "Wait, Nathan, you implicated me. You let me take the blame for the $347 Apple Watch purchase, when I already have the school musical, the debate club, and my own actual mortgage to deal with? Are you serious?" See, even when he's furious, Jerry still manages to center himself as the main victim of circumstance. It was almost impressive. Nancy, still recording, leaned forward. "So the $1,247 rent money went to Lovertops 1, and Lovertops 2 got the discounted Apple Watch." I looked at Nathan. "Who is Lovertops 1, Nathan? Is she also a middle-aged PTA volunteer who felt useful for 10 minutes? He finally crumbled. He didn't shout, he didn't run. He just slumped onto one of the plastic folding chairs. "Lovertops 1, he mumbled into his knees, is my ex-girlfriend Stephanie from college. We reconnected on Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace. I am being replaced by a ghost from 2005 who buys and sells used furniture, and they met up because he was looking for a decent standing desk. I wish I was joking. She needed the $1,247 to fix her catalytic converter," Nathan continued, sounding like he was reciting a grocery list. "She promised she'd pay it back right after her tax return." I actually laughed. A harsh, broken sound. "You stole our rent money that keeps a roof over your child, to fix a stranger's catalytic converter because she promised you money from a tax return that isn't guaranteed. She's not a stranger, Billy, she's Stephanie. We have history." He looked up, trying to leverage my own identity struggles against me again. "You haven't been happy. You're figuring yourself out. I needed someone who understood the real me, the one who doesn't feel safe being himself around you." I was furious but also strangely calm now. The devastation had crystallized into action. "I am figuring myself out, Nathan. And the first thing I've figured out is that the real me doesn't pay $1,247 for a liar's catalytic converter and then get gaslit about it." I walked over to the table and picked up my worn leather PTA binder. "The wedding is off. I am changing the locks Friday morning. Get your stuff out by then or I will put it on the curb. And I'm calling David the treasurer right now to report you for using the PTA credit card, which is probably embezzlement, BTW." David, the actual treasurer who had been hiding behind the projector screen for the last 5 minutes, emerged looking terrified. "Please don't report me, Billy. I didn't even know he had the card details." Emily, 29F, the anti-vaxxer, stepped forward and actually patted my shoulder. "Billy, I believe you. This is exactly what happens when you trust the government and institutions. They steal your rent money for Apple Watches. It's all connected." She handed me a pamphlet about detoxifying with essential oils. It was an incredibly bizarre moment of solidarity, but I took the pamphlet just to be polite. I didn't stick around for the cleanup. I grabbed my keys, told the principal I quit the garden renovation committee, and walked out. Nathan tried to follow me. Billy, wait, we can talk. I need the key to the apartment. Where am I going to go?" "I don't care if you sleep in your stupid BMW, Nathan," I told him, not turning around. "I suggest you call Stephanie with the good catalytic converter and see if she has a spare couch." I got in my Civic and drove away. I didn't cry until I hit the freeway exit ramp, and then I just screamed full-throated until my throat hurt. Hash update 2 days later, Thursday 4:15 p.m. So it's been 2 days since the great PTA catastrophe. I didn't sleep at all that night. I just sat in the living room surrounded by Nathan's gaming equipment and his piles of graphic design magazines which he never reads. I'm convinced they're props, trying to figure out the logistics. The lease, that was the immediate panic. He was right, the lease is in both our names. I called the landlord, Mr. Henderson, first thing Wednesday morning. "Mr. Henderson, I need to remove Nathan's name from the lease and change the security deposit to my name only." Mr. Henderson, who sounds suspiciously like he smokes 3 packs a day, just sighed. "Billy, you know the rule. 60 days written notice, full security deposit reallocation, and proof of single income meeting the minimum requirement. I make decent money in logistics, but not double the required minimum for a new single-tenant lease." I felt that practical panic setting in again, the cold dread that means I might actually lose my home over a stupid Apple Watch and a busted catalytic converter. I hung up and texted my best friend Liz. Liz is amazing. She's a no-nonsense paralegal who specializes in real estate law and uses all caps when she's mad. "Liz, you did what with who? CHLOECHEN, the absent cardigan lady. Billy, you are living a soap opera. Me, it's worse. Stephanie, Lovertops 1 got the rent money. Liz, NATHAN is the worst human ever. Do not speak to HIM. Do not text HIM. I am coming over with wine and legal FORMS. Liz showed up an hour later with 2 bottles of Malbec and a printout of the eviction notice laws for our state. She took one look at me. I was wearing yesterday's clothes and had stressed an entire bag of pita chips and immediately took charge. We figured out the money. I had a small savings account for the wedding venue deposit, $1,500. If I used that, I could cover next month's rent, which Nathan stole, and also manage the security deposit reallocation requirement if I could prove I had another roommate. "You're going to have a roommate, Billy," Liz stated, pouring me a glass of wine that was definitely too early for the day. "And that roommate is going to be me on paper. Well, draft a sublease agreement that looks legitimate. Henderson won't check too hard if the paperwork is pristine. So the plan: get Nathan out by Friday, change the locks, use the wedding money to pay the rent he should have paid, fake a sublease with Liz to keep the apartment, file a police report about the PTA credit card for leverage if necessary." Nathan was still in the apartment, BTW. He was trying to be pitiful. He kept sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the TV, occasionally sighing dramatically. "I can't believe you're doing this to me, Billy, right when I was starting to feel safe to be vulnerable." "You weren't vulnerable, Nathan. You were committing larceny," I snapped, carefully sorting his graphic tees into a garbage bag. "The problem with dealing with a gaslighter is that they make you doubt the reality you just witnessed." I found myself thinking maybe if I hadn't been so preoccupied with my identity stuff, he wouldn't have felt the need to emotionally cheat. Liz caught me staring out the window, looking sad. "Stop that. He chose to be trash. He weaponized your legitimate journey of self-discovery to excuse stealing rent money for his ex-girlfriend's car repair. That's sociopathic behavior, not a marital disagreement." I needed to see the trash for what he was without the emotional filter. I did something impulsive that night. I went through his computer. I know, boundary violation, but after Lovertops 1 and Lovertops 2, I needed the full scope of the operation. I found the text messages, hundreds of them, not just with Stephanie and Chloe, but a whole slew of other people he was flirting with on dating apps even though we were engaged. But the worst part, the screenshot. He had screenshotted my text asking him to explain the Venmo transaction, explain now, and send it to Stephanie with the caption, "My partner is being so dramatic. LOL. Send me pics of that new watch I got you, Lovertops. I need to feel better. I didn't buy her an Apple Watch. He bought Chloe one." He was lying to Stephanie too, pretending he was still invested in their connection. He was running multiple scams simultaneously, and they were all transactional. He wasn't looking for emotional connection. He was looking for validation and a temporary escape from paying his share of the bills. That screenshot flipped a switch. The tears stopped. The sadness vanished. All that was left was cold, surgical fury. He wasn't worth the guilt. Fast forward to Friday morning, 8:00 a.m. the deadline. Nathan knew it was coming. I took the day off work, told my boss it was a family emergency, which was true, just a self-made one. I called the locksmith for 9:00 a.m. Liz was waiting in her car down the street, ready to deploy the moment Nathan left the apartment. I walked into the kitchen. Nathan was sitting there, drinking coffee, looking smug. He had this ridiculous air of confidence, like he thought I was bluffing. "So you going to keep up this silly charade, Billy?" he asked, taking a theatrical sip. "No charade, Nathan. The locksmith is due in an hour. Your stuff is packed. Get the last of it or I am donating it to Goodwill." He laughed, a deep throaty sound. "You want to that? You love my vintage Elden Ring Collector's Edition posters. They're worth money. I'm starting a new life, Nathan. A life without people who prioritize a fictional monster poster over the actual rent. I am changing the locks. You are out." He finally got angry. He stood up, towering over me. "You can't afford this apartment alone. Y'all be begging me to come back when you realize you're going broke." "I am not going broke. I spoke to Mr. Henderson and I secured a new lease arrangement. I didn't mention the fake roommate, and I sent $1,247 to the landlord yesterday with my money. The money you stole is still gone, and I filed a police report for petty theft, just so you know." That got him. The color drained from his face again. He wasn't afraid of losing me. He was afraid of legal consequences and poverty. He started yelling, calling me every name under the sun: dramatic, controlling, paranoid, selfish. He even brought up my gender questioning again, saying I was unstable and unfit to raise our kid, which was a low blow even for him. I just stood there, breathing. I felt nothing but detachment. He was just noise. Then my phone buzzed. It was a text. "JERRYROSS 37M. I am so sorry about Nathan. I just wanted to apologize for making your betrayal drama about my own exhaustion at the PTA meeting. I realize I have a problem with needing to be the martyr. I'm starting therapy Monday. Can I come help you move Nathan's boxes out? I have a truck and I am oddly good at Tetris." Jerry the martyr, taking accountability. This was the first good sign in days. I texted back, "You don't need to help, but thank you. Seriously, therapy is a great idea." Nathan saw me smiling at my phone and got even more enraged. He went straight for his laptop, grabbed it, and stormed out the door, slamming it so hard the framed picture of our engagement fell off the wall. He left at 8:47 a.m., precisely 13 minutes before the locksmith arrived. I didn't cheer. I didn't feel relief. I just felt this deep, heavy exhaustion. A week went by where I just did the bare minimum. Liz helped me change the locks, change all the utility passwords, and create a shared spreadsheet tracking all the money Nathan owed, which was approximately $4,500, including the rent, the stolen cash, and half of the shared bills I covered. I contacted a mediator regarding the custody arrangements for our son. Nathan was surprisingly hands-off, mostly because he was busy messaging me with desperate, long-winded apologies that always ended with a request for money or a ride to pick up his dry cleaning. I ignored them all. I blocked his number, but then I realized I needed to keep him unblocked for emergency communications about our kid, which was frustrating. So I muted him and archived the chats. I was emotionally shattered but logistically organized. My focus shifted from Nathan's betrayal to something much bigger. Why did I let this go on for so long? Why did I ignore the red flags, the Elden Ring obsession, the refusal to contribute, the face-down phone? I realized I had spent the last 2.5 years pouring all my emotional energy into Nathan's stability and his perceived happiness, precisely because I was so terrified of dealing with my own identity questions. If Nathan was happy, if Nathan was successful, then our relationship was fine and I could put the "who is Billy" problem on hold. Now that he was gone, the "who is Billy" question was standing right in the middle of my living room demanding attention. It was terrifying. The return of the PTA chaos. I thought I was done with the drama, but this is a small town and the elementary school is the epicenter of all gossip. I went to pick up my son after school on Tuesday. It was an awkward moment of transition. I was trying to appear normal and put together. Who should I run into but Emily Lopez, 29F, the anti-vaxxer. She cornered me near the bike rack. She was wearing a tinfoil hat, not joking, an actual slightly bent tinfoil hat over her messy bun. "Billy, I need to talk to you about Chloe Chen," she whispered conspiratorially, scanning the sky like a drone was tracking her. "Emily, please, I really don't want to talk about Chloe or Nathan." No, this is important. Chloe is now on the school board. She was elected last night." "Wait, what?" The outpouring of community support for her vulnerability was huge, Billy. People see her as a victim of Nathan's systemic toxicity and they feel she needs a voice. She promised to stop the mandatory vaccinations and also proposed a budget review to ensure nobody else is using the PTA credit card for personal gain. Emily lowered her voice further. "It's a Trojan horse, Billy. She's definitely working for the deep state, but she's on our side right now. She's fighting the system that let Nathan thrive." It was bizarre. Chloe Chen, the woman who took the emotional affair, was now running on an anti-corruption, anti-vaccine platform and winning. Her public humiliation had somehow turned into a platform for community empowerment. I guess that's how small-town politics works. You become a martyr or you become a villain, and Chloe had successfully leveraged her position as the wronged other woman into a small political career. I had to laugh a little. Good for her, I guess. At least she was channeling the chaos into something productive, unlike Nathan, who was still demanding his PS5 back. But the real shocker came later that day. Reconnecting with old friends. Remember the resolution approach, reconnecting with old friends. This started happening organically. I hadn't seen my college friend Sarah in years, maybe 5. We drifted apart after I started focusing exclusively on Nathan in our little apartment bubble. Sarah is incredible. She's a successful corporate lawyer in the city, recently got divorced, and is exactly the kind of fierce energy I needed right now. I got a random text from her. "Saw your post about the PTA drama on Facebook. Sorry, I stalked your profile. You are too good for that trash. Come to the city. We are having a tea party, Trauma Tequila Tuesday." I needed that, desperately. I got a sitter for my son and drove into the city the next night. Sarah and I stayed up until 2:00 a.m. We didn't talk about Nathan for long. I gave her the bullet points: stolen rent, Apple Watch, Lovertops 1, Lovertops 2, Chloe Chen. She listened, swore 3 times, and then immediately pivoted. "Okay, that's done. He's trash. Let's talk about you, Billy. How's the identity stuff going?" It was the first time anyone had asked me that question sincerely, without judgment or the intent to weaponize my confusion since I started questioning things last year. I told her about the fear. The fear of changing my name, the fear of changing my presentation, the fear of disappointing my parents or confusing my kid. Sarah was so practical. "Billy, you're a 49. You've been putting everyone else first for 49 years. If you want to wear a dress to work tomorrow, do it. If you want to change your name to Beatrice, do it. Who cares if people are confused? They're already confused about how anyone could date Nathan in the first place. You owe no one an explanation for your authentic self." That night, I felt a weight lift. Not because I had solved the identity crisis, but because I had permission from a trusted friend to start solving it without the toxic presence of Nathan making me feel unstable. We made a pact. We were going to meet once a week. Sarah promised to help me clean up the legal mess with Nathan and also help me shop for new clothes that felt more authentically me. The Nancy Kelly complication, but life isn't neat. Just when I thought I was getting clarity, the chaos doubled back. Nancy Kelly, 24F, the attention seeker who recorded the whole PTA meltdown, posted the video. She didn't post it on YouTube, she posted it on TikTok, and it went viral. The video was titled, "PTA Drama Exposes Cheating Fiancé." Lovertops. I got a call from my sister who lives 3 states away. "Billy, are you okay? You're a TikTok famous. Is that Chloe Chen? She looks so calm." The video was everywhere. It showed the moment I screamed, "You took the rent money," Nathan trying to grab my arm, and then Chloe slamming her hand down and revealing the Apple Watch. Nancy had perfectly captured the dramatic climax. My coworkers were sharing the video in the office Slack channel. My son's principal called me, gently suggesting that maybe I should take a step back from school activities for a while until the online buzz died down. I was mortified. I wanted to crawl into a hole and never emerge. I messaged Nancy immediately. "Nancy, you have to take that video down. It's affecting my life and my job." "Nancy, OMG Billy, it has 7 million views. You're iconic. I can't take it down now. It's literally fueling my entire social media presence. Besides, it's public domain. You were in a public forum. This was the final straw. I was being exploited for views by a 24-year-old who thought trauma was content." I called Liz, my paralegal friend. "Can we sue her?" Liz sighed. "Technically, no. Public forum, you were the aggressor. She didn't violate privacy laws. But we can harass her with legal threats until she gets nervous." I didn't want legal threats. I wanted to fight fire with fire, but ethically. The unexpected confrontation with Chloe. 3 days after the TikTok video went viral, I was back at the PTA Community Center. Stupidly, I had to drop off my son's forgotten lunchbox. Who was there? Chloe Chen, 59F. She was in the parking lot, packing flyers into the trunk of her sensible Toyota Camry. The flyers were for her new school board campaign. She still had the Apple Watch on. I walked up to her feeling incredibly awkward. "Chloe," I started, "we need to talk." She straightened up. She looked tired but resolute. "About Nathan or the TikTok video?" "Both, I guess." "Why did you do it? Why did you wear the watch and expose him like that?" She paused, looking at the engraving on the watch. CHLOVRATOPS, I realized I was filling a void with another man's problems, Billy. Nathan needed a mother figure and a free therapist, and I needed to feel important because my own kids don't talk to me anymore. She looked regretful, truly regretful. When I saw him buying me that cheap, stupid piece of technology and then returning it because he got the Netflix password wrong, I realized he didn't see me. He saw a solution to his loneliness. I didn't care about ruining his life. I cared about not letting him ruin mine any further. Then she added, and also I returned the original watch. I bought myself a new one the next day. This one is engraved with CHLOCHNROCKS. I paid for it myself. With my own money, I cracked a smile. Good for you, Chloe. You too, Billy, she said, her voice soft. You need to get Nathan out of your head. He's going to leech onto the next person who lets him. He's not complicated. He's just a user. It was the most validation I'd received about the entire situation. It was nice to know that Lovertops 2 was on my side. The financial nightmare and the silver lining, the logistical fallout was still a mess. Nathan, using the leverage of the viral video, started demanding an unreasonable division of our assets, mostly my assets, TBH. He texted me demanding half of the $1,500 wedding savings because we both planned the wedding, so it's marital property. I consulted Liz. She told me to send him the police report number I had filed regarding the stolen rent money, along with the detailed accounting of the $4,500 he owed me. I decided to play hardball. I didn't want to fight in court. I wanted peace. I texted him back, I will give you $750, half of the wedding savings, if and only if you sign the quitclaim form removing your name from the lease immediately and you agree to joint custody with 0 spousal support claims. He hesitated for 3 days. He tried to negotiate for an extra $200. I left him on read. On Friday afternoon, the official paperwork came through. He signed the lease waiver. He took the $750. He was officially out of my life except for co-parenting. I felt a profound sense of lightness. I was financially stressed, yes. I had $7.42 in my checking account until next payday. I was eating ramen every night, but the apartment was mine, the air was cleaner. I changed the whole vibe of the living room. I even got rid of the stupid Elden Ring posters. The final showdown at the grocery store by Tuesday, 3 weeks after the PTA debacle, I was starting to feel like myself again. I was spending time with Sarah, I was going to the gym, and I had even started looking at support groups for people questioning their gender identity. I was prioritizing me. But this is real life, not a movie, so I had to have the embarrassing run-in. I was at Trader Joe's doing my typical Tuesday run, $43.67, stocking up on frozen dinners and cheap wine. I rounded the corner by the cheese section and bam, Nathan. He was wearing a wrinkled shirt and looked terrible. He was with a woman I didn't recognize. She was young, maybe 20, and was wearing a sweatshirt that said, "I am with stupid," with an arrow pointing to Nathan. She looked profoundly bored. He saw me and immediately started trying to hide behind the stack of feta cheese. "Too late, Billy," he squeaked. "Fancy seeing you here, Nathan." I kept my cart moving. "This is Tiffany," he introduced awkwardly. "We just met." Tiffany rolled her eyes. "He's crashing on my couch because his car keeps breaking down and he promised me I could pay for groceries with his food stamp card, which he apparently doesn't have." I just stared at Nathan. He had moved on to trying to manipulate a new, younger person into taking care of him, probably within a week of leaving my apartment. "Wait," I said, remembering the $1,247 rent money. "How is Stephanie's catalytic converter doing?" Nathan visibly flinched. "Oh, she blocked me. Turns out she only reconnected with me to get the money and she paid me back with bad checks. I have to go to small claims court." The ultimate irony. He betrayed me, endangered our home, and used 2 different women, all for a fraudulent catalytic converter repair. He didn't even get the happy ending with Lovertops 1. I smiled genuinely for the first time in a long time. It wasn't a mean smile, it was a smile of pure freedom. "Well, Nathan," I said, picking up a bottle of wine, "good luck with that. You reap what you sow, I guess." I walked away and finished my shopping. I didn't feel rage or sadness. I felt pity for him and enormous relief for myself. I didn't have to carry his incompetence anymore. The reflection. It's been 3 months now. I am typing this from my living room, which is currently filled with new furniture that I bought with my own money, obviously. The apartment feels like mine, authentically mine. Liz is still helping me with the finances, and I've successfully set up the co-parenting schedule. Jerry Ross, the martyr, actually followed through with therapy and texted me last week to say he realized that not every problem needs him to be the suffering hero. He's taking a sabbatical from the PTA for his mental health. I told him that was the best news I'd heard all year. Chloe Chen is now a sitting member of the school board. She's currently campaigning to ban plastic water bottles, claiming they cause microtraumas. I don't agree with her politics, but I respect her hustle. She used the worst moment of her life to reinvent herself. Nancy Kelly's TikTok video eventually died down. She tried to follow up with a video of Nathan begging for his PS5 back, but it only got 300 views. Attention span is short, thankfully. I am still figuring out the identity stuff. I went to a support group last month. I haven't changed my name or my presentation yet, but I am allowing myself the space and time to explore it. It's a slow, quiet journey, which is exactly what I need after the Nathan tornado. I realized that my fear of facing myself was easier than dealing with his constant neediness. That's a painful but necessary truth. I'm still financially struggling a bit, ramen is still a staple, and sometimes I see a notification on my phone and my heart still jumps, expecting Nathan's drama. But then I remember I changed all my passwords, my friend group is solid, and I only have to worry about my own bills. Yesterday, Sarah and I were laughing about the time Nathan tried to convince me that the $200 missing cash was a secret donation to a rare monkey preservation fund. I laughed so hard I nearly spit out my cheap wine. And in that moment, I realized I'm going to be completely okay. I was supposed to get married next month. Instead, I got divorced early, saved my credit score, and found out who my real friends are. Not a bad trade-off, TBH. Will update if I ever encounter Lovertops 1 or if Chloe Chen successfully bans the plastic silverware at the next school fundraiser. Wish me luck. I am free.